Get ready to quit the build.
Here we go.
The QTB crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno, Brad, and Nick.
Oh yeah, what it do? You are listening to the QTB podcast. I'm your host, Bruno, and with me, we got Nick, we got Justin. We're ready to go and talk about some video games. Woo! They couldn't see us. You can't see a podcast, which is why we are the number one prop-related podcast out there. Nobody else uses props like we do. It's true, okay? We got them everywhere. I don't know who it's for. Obviously, yes, look at that. Look at that.
I can't play it.
Yeah, no, me neither. I can play the one song that's my dog has fleas.
Now we're just grabbing
can
things.
of dust. You're just grabbing whatever's near you. You can't do that. You gotta grab something like this. Okay,
there you go.
World classic suffice.
Token here. Here we go.
There you go. Parasite Eve.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can deal with that.
There was an Eve-related game there in the Sony State of Play. We'll have to get to that. Yeah. I'm telling you, Bruno, it has been an action-packed day for gamers. I knew we were going to have the Nintendo State of Play and rather Nintendo Direct and Sony State of Play. They all just mashed together.
They do.
And we also had, what was it, the Disney Marvel. They had their first ever kind of game showcase, right? They showed off some upcoming things. I did a jingle about the Marvel Go thing.
I know they really needed a whole thing regarding Marvel, but we got one, so
we got one. We did.
Whatever.
Yeah, but today we're going to be focusing on the heavy hitters, which is 100%. We're going to be looking at Nintendo and Sony, just kind of diving right into it because there's a lot to get into. And I think some good comparisons. It's always fun when you have these two, behemoths, right, scheduled for the same day to see who goes first, how they approach it. But more importantly is we got to introduce our guest here, which if you have seen the podcast before or heard the podcast, you know it is the one and only QTB's Justin, one of our bloggers. Occasional, he shows up sometimes. That's what I know. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's good timing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, today was a lot of news for the gaming community there.
We're going to need you, man, because, you're kind of our one of our resident kind of, Eastern game specialists, your JRPGs and J123s. So we're going to be having you kind of look at a lot of the things that happened there with Sony that maybe we don't know about. And, of course, our listeners right here in the live chat are going to be joining along as well. So let's just jump right into it without further ado. But, of course, as always, we'd like to start things off with a little bit of what you playing, how's your week been going, what you've been doing. Bruno, I know you had quite the weekend to do at a local arcade, right? What was it? What's this all about?
Oh man, my wife says to us, we got the in-laws in town. My wife's dad decided to come up and visit his newborn grandson for the first time, and we decided to take him out to the local pinball museum, as it's called. And because he loves pinball, and so does my wife. And if you're a classic gamer, I think that's one of the OGs, right? Pinball. It's hit or miss sometimes when you go, whether or not the paddles are gonna work. But I had my, I kept my my optimism up. I was like, maybe this will be good. And I walked through the door, Nick, and I got to tell you, this shouldn't be called a pinball museum because it should be called an arcade museum. They had every arcade game you could possibly think of. There was a $20 cover, okay? All you had to pay was $20. You got to go in and play the entire day for free. You could leave, come back, and that's exactly what we did to play later. Okay. I sat down and played tons of arcade games. I got to play through the entire Halo Fireteam Raven arcade game from start to finish. Nice. They had Time Crisis 3, Time Crisis 4, and Time Crisis 5. Okay, so they had tons
That's a
of
catalog.
stuff. I mean, pretty much if you think of an arcade game, they had it. And not only did they have those classic arcade games, but they had like 800 or 500 some pinball machines. Like, I mean, it is absolutely crazy. If you think about it, if you go to a modern arcade now, a game like Time Crisis probably costs like $4. So if you play 5 games, then you've pretty much spent the cover charge of whatever it is, for these bigger games. And they had it. So I would definitely recommend anybody who's in the Portland area to head on up to the Pinball Museum in Hillsboro, Oregon. It is amazing. And like I said, it's every gamer's paradise. Every time, it was like continue, I didn't have to put in another quarter. No, it didn't. There was none of that. None of that.
Right.
It was just like, let's go.
Dude, that's a deal. $20 for the whole place.
$20,
like all day.
right?
That's great.
Yeah. That is a deal. And that's what a lot of them do.
Loves that.
Yeah. Most of these
like so much money in the arcades.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Now I will say, and I'm going to pass it over to you, Justin, because one thing they didn't have was a DDR machine. Okay. There was no Dance Revolution up in there. You must have bought the last one. Because
it's
it's
in the basement
something now. Yeah. Absolutely.
So what have you been playing lately?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're alive.
Another Justin on the podcast we got over there.
To be honest, I haven't really been playing much recently. I've been trying to finish a commission that I've been working on a painting. So
nice.
Every now and then I'll be playing Final Fantasy 14. Stu, love that game. Amazing MMO. It's one of the only few MMOs that really does anything for me these days. There's just so much content in that game. It's absurd. It's absurd. It's a lovely game. It's amazing. Yeah. But that's really about it. Unfortunately, I don't really have too much to say or go off of.
Well, if you devote what little time you have to an MMO, Justin, then that is all you're going to be playing, right? Because that's how they get you.
There is the Final Fantasy 7 speed runs, but I've been using that time to finish the painting. So, but once I'm done the painting, I'll be back at that, of course.
Yeah. It's interesting because Final Fantasy 14, I was just reading an article the other day about, the kind of the role play and like kind of just casual community that isn't so much in the gameplay side of things as they are at the social aspects. About this group that they're like a live band that performs in game at certain locations because
of them.
you can script music. And have different people play different instruments and sync it up. And so they go around and like they make money. Like people pay them to like arrive at like weddings in the game and special events. And just like they are a traveling band of actual performers. And it's like, that is like, it's
a Guitar Hero band.
Basically.
If you haven't seen Final Fantasy 14 instruments and like the people who play them, do yourself a favor and go to YouTube and just search it. I mean, you'll find anything from classic rock to Mozart to like R&B. I mean, it's amazing. It's
people use people use like the 3DS to play different stuff on the ocarina. I don't know what it was. What is it? I think it's Majora's Mask. They go into Majora's Mask and will actually play, play different, because there's different instruments in that as well. So, from what is it? Live concerts where people are using the 3DS to capture the moment.
Such an underrated gem of a console, man. It didn't get the praise it deserved. Yeah, the swan song for mobile consoles.
Here's a tip for you. If the judge tells you that you're not allowed to use your phone because of some misdemeanor thing or whatever, they didn't say you couldn't use your 3DS, so you can get on there and tweet all you want. This tweet was sent from a Nintendo 3DS.
Judge, I'm not texting. I'm in PictoChat. Okay.
Hello. This is. Don't you hear the music? Hello.
Yeah.
We're here. Right. Okay.
I wish that were there.
This isn't Twitter music. This is me music.
We're not going to get that on Twitter.
This is not on the phone. I don't have a phone.
What's up,
video
Anthony?
games.
It's
It was I'm telling you, we were saying in the pre-show there, Justin got quite the fan base already. I love to see it. So yeah,
I love my people. What can I say?
Right. Well, I'll tell you, the games I've been playing, anyone that's been watching our channels, they already know, because we jumped into a lot of live streams on Twitch, on YouTube, even jumped into TikTok this week. We are set up with live streaming on TikTok. So we got to do some Kirby's Dream Buffet, because what other game is the Kirby Balls guy going to play first on TikTok than the Kirby Balls game? Very apropos. And I also did a full run through, start to finish, of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I had been intentionally waiting to play that game until we could stream. And it paid off, because it was like a 4 or 5 part series. It's all available here on YouTube. The live stream video on demand is there if you want to watch that playthrough. It's a lot of fun. Super great game. Great outing for Kirby, and a full 3D experience for an adventure style game. I really think they hit every note just about perfectly. Would have loved to see the game in 60 frames, but nonetheless, it was good. Yeah, Spadert was there. We got Spadert in chat. Absolutely. Yeah. Spadert's our quality control guy now. You know, he's paying attention to stuff. He's being like, oh, that's actually, correcting me on QTB lore and all that good stuff. Love to see it. The live streams are a blast.
He's our historian.
Yes. Look, if the MCU can have their own dedicated person, like their whole job is to make sure the timeline is actually kept up with and is intact, then we can have a quality control,
Yeah.
Creed Bratton, he was a quality control guy for The Office, right? He made sure the paper was...
Creep. I just think of the Halloween episode where he covered in blood.
It's a perfect,
really good timing.
Really good timing.
The most enigmatic character in a sitcom ever.
Right.
Oh man, gosh, I love that.
Yeah, I'll never forget. Was it he had the burritos, right? Kelly went to the supermarket and brought frozen burritos, and he's like, "Wait a second, hold on, where did you get these?" And she's like, "Oh, Jimmy John's down at the corner." He's like, mama. And he pulls out a map. He pulls out a paper. Show me on a map.
I forgot
Draw
about
it for me. Put her in those burritos.
That good, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what's in this burrito, and that is the best gaming news podcast that you can find. And we're going to be getting into, of course, Nintendo and Sony's directs here. Their direct and state of play, respectively. But of course, first we got to say, as always, thank you so much to our sponsor, the official sponsor of the QTME Network. I'm talking about Winner Winner. The Winner Winner app offers the best online claw machines in the world, with tons of ways to reward you for playing mobile games. Okay? It's not just the best claw machines in town. They've got amazing games that are baked right into the app. There's apps within the app. It's appception, if you will. They've got games like Word Crush, Stack the Blocks, Whack-A-Mole, and a whole lot more. You can earn tickets for playing those games. Those will add up to be redeemed in the winner's circle for literally thousands of different prizes. By the way, if there's a prize that you want that's not in there, there's a button, and they just be like, hey, give us a link. Where is it? They'll sell anything, okay? If you want to play their live arcade game, so make sure to check it out. We got Token Dancing if you're watching the podcast right now. The link is in the show notes or also in the live chat on YouTube. Your first play is your first win is free if you haven't played before. So download the app for iOS and Android, hit the play for free button, and play real live claw machines for real live prizes right about now. The Funk Soul Brother. That's what I got. That's it. That's the plug. Thanks to our sponsor. We love those guys.
I love Winner Winner.
Yeah.
Right?
It's great. It's a great thing.
Yeah, you won a prize recently, right, Justin? You told me about that.
Yeah,
what'd you get?
I won. I think it's a 12-inch giant plushie. It's like a cat bread. It's a cat that looks like a big giant loaf of bread. So I got that from my wife.
These are the things you need in your life.
Yeah, who doesn't need that?
I did. So at the arcade, they did have claw machines. So the only things really in the arcade that you had to pay for was the claw machines. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to, because I know where I can get better stuff and easier. One try over at Winner Winner, because I do like to just throw in some, throw in $1 every once in a while, see what I can win. Mm-hmm. It is a skill-based game if you can get, those special claw machines, but I didn't trust them. And I trust the ones over at Winner Winner. I know if I reach down there, I'm going to pull up pull up something, and it's
Something
actually
nice.
going to give me something nice,
I like the sound
right?
effects you added there.
Whatever it may be.
It's the real sound it makes when it grabs things. That's it.
Yeah,
Winner wants to know your username in chat, Justin.
Hey!
You better give it to him. Better type that one out.
I don't remember it. I gotta look it up.
He's gonna look it up now. Well, while you do that, Justin, we're going to jump into our first segment here, which, of course, is the Nintendo Direct. Guys, I mean, you want to talk about an absolutely just packed event. People had some expectations. You know, I saw a lot of bingo cards and predictions as to what would be there, and you just never know, man. Nintendo Directs are always so crazy because you find out, like, the day before, and now you're scrambling to be there. It's always super early in the morning. For you, Bruno, it's like, what, like 7 o'clock in the morning?
I don't know.
I
lost all sense of time after I had a baby. Like the days just meshed together, and I'm like,
right.
Let's see what's on TV or on the YouTubes, and here we are.
There you go, and we're playing the feud. So yeah, I mean we're just gonna go right into it. This article is from mobilesyrup.com. It's a Canadian gaming website, which, I mean, you can't get a better name than that, quite frankly. Talking about everything. I'm sorry, this one actually is from Destructoid. Our next article is from Mobile Syrup. We might use them for more articles. And this article we're going to go right down the list, top to bottom. The first big thing that we got, and I don't think anyone saw this coming, especially with the recent Fire Emblem game, is another Fire Emblem game. You know, they're making more games than characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And this one is the next mainline entry. It is Fire Emblem Engage, coming on January 20th, 2023. And I mean, look, you know, as far as Fire Emblem games go, I don't usually get too excited for them. I'm not huge into the franchise, but I have to say one thing that I really liked about it was that right away, before they even named the game, I'm like identifying past characters. Like, oh, that's Lynn, you know, oh, that's Marth. I realized that this is going to be one of those like kind of shared universe things where you can call on, you know, different iconic Fire Emblem characters from past games to come in and fight for you. Are you much of a Fire Emblem guy, Justin?
I enjoy watching people play them. I've never been one to actually play the series myself. I have played them in the past, but I've never been like a diehard fan of playing them in chronological order or anything like that. That being said, though, this game does look absolutely stunning. It's hitting on everything that Fire Emblem I feel like is really known for, and the fact that, like you mentioned yourself, they're hitting on all the previous Fire Emblem characters that they're, you know, bringing into like maybe this multiverse.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks good. You know, job well done.
Yeah. I mean, the game looks flashy. It looks like a lot of fun. Honestly, the production values seem pretty high, and that's kind of what you want for these, not JRPG, really. It's more of a strategy-based game.
Right.
I love the original Fire Emblem. I wish I had more time to jump into these types of games. It's just, man, the full price tag, right, Bruno? It's like, how do you, when this many games, I mean, we're so spoiled as gamers, aren't we? But like,
especially with Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing with Nintendo where as much as I love the fact that I have tons of games, you know, a huge game catalog and library to choose from when I go and look at Nintendo Switch games, being that the console's been out for 5 years. But at the same time, I'm also like, I got to stagger those purchases because that $50 adds up. And I think that that's one of the great things about the Game Pass and having something that, you know, you're going to have that game included from the get-go. I'm ready for it. But you know, I do have to kind of pick and choose what games are going to be worth it. And every time I go down the aisle at Target or whatever, I'm looking at the games and, you know, debating with my wife, should we get this or should we get this? You know, what game are we really going to play together? And an RPG is not one that you can really play together most often. So not without another Switch in the house, which I'm not going to sell her on that, boys. Not gonna sell her on that.
You got the one. Yeah! You got the one. That was a solid sell, right? You know, you have the kid. You're like, look, this is a family play here. This is a family play. Nick's got the family plan slot. We gotta get in there. We gotta eat while the getting's good. I love it. Okay. Oh, the squeak is one of the best ones. Oh, by the way, you missed a huge opportunity at talking about the pinball arcade, not using the bing bong sound effect, because that's what the ball does. It goes bing bong.
Bing bong.
It does. It does go around there. I got you.
It does go
Bing
around.
bong,
It really
bing,
do
bing
be
bong.
like that.
Bing,
Yeah.
bing, bing, bong.
When it gets stuck between the
when it
bumpers.
gets stuck in the back
Yeah,
there.
yeah. It'll come out
Bing, bing,
eventually.
bong.
How am I supposed to talk about the news? Okay.
I don't know.
Well, speaking of games that require that can have two players, Bruno, It Takes Two. That is definitely one such game, and that game is coming out on Nintendo Switch on November 4th. I think some people saw this coming. I know I saw someone that was confident there was going to be an It Takes Two announcement. So this game is critically acclaimed, won quite a few awards. Joseph Fares, that created, also the creator of A Way Out. I mean, what a genius game. It's an absolute joy to play with a partner or just someone that you know, a friend. And more importantly is that buddy pass system where you can buy the game and then you can pick someone to be like, hey, you want to play with me, play online, and they get a free copy of the game to come along with you. Since co-op is quite literally required, there's no way around that. It's a very clever thing to do, and definitely seems to be a specialty for that team. So that's definitely good news. We had a Fatal Frame announcement. It's coming west in early 2023. That game has previously been released only in Japan. You're into the horror games, right? And it's like photography based, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've actually played this game. I played it in its entirety with the Japanese version. I'm really happy to see this come out. I feel like Fatal Frame is not a series that gets enough love. It is a really true to survival horror style game, and Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is no different. I think it's the fourth or fifth one in the series. The original one, dating back to PS2 release. This game is great. I'm really excited that it's coming out in the States for people to be able to play. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks cool. And definitely it's always good to see the games that rarely get those adaptations to finally start to get that recognition, because I think there are plenty of good IPs that just sit in the, and it goes both ways, right? Games that, we're just now seeing Xbox begin to have more of a foothold in the East and in Japan and areas like that. Mm-hmm. And with it, the titles that typically are considered Western games, that it helps to kind of just, cross-pollinate. Everybody wins when these I would say more niche games get more exposure. So yeah, well, I mean, look, we gotta just keep it moving. I'm not gonna go over the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 expansion pass. That's just more content for the same game. We got a new SpongeBob SquarePants game. Good for them. We got Fitness Boxing Fist of the North Star Edition. That looks absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, okay, so Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, that looks interesting, and I'm going to say just because, it seems like farming games and sim games especially, we talked a lot about sim games on the podcast, but farming games, besides Farming Simulator, which is quite literally both, games that have farming seem to be making a comeback. Like, people really want that casual experience of being able to relax and just chill, vibe with the game. And these types of games offer it. Yeah, and I think this has a little bit of combat mixed in as well, but I think about this and also Harvestella, which is coming out soon. I think the demo is now available. Similar concept, right? It's got the village life mechanics, and you can also go out and kick some butt, get some mats, bring it over, and I guess plant the corpses of your enemies as corn. It's corn, Bruno.
Yeah, that's the plot of every futuristic movie, right? It's right there. You harvest the bones of your enemies, plant them, turn it into corn, and then you've got a Soylent Green.
So that's where corn
it's
comes
people.
from. Ah.
It's people.
Soylent Green is people.
That's what they say. On that note, that's over to you, Nick. Okay. Yes. Fantastic. But no, there definitely it does seem to be a renaissance for this style game. So it's nice to see other people kind of coming out with existing IPs and taking their shot at it. I'd love to see a new Harvest Moon game, to be honest. I think that series definitely needs a solid newer entry. But so that was announced. We got a second Octopath Traveler game confirmed, a fully fledged sequel with 8 new travelers for February in 2023. That's a big deal. Octopath Traveler has enjoyed a lot of success it's enjoyed a lot of cross-platform success. I mean, it's out on everything. It's even out on Stadia. As far as, and it's kind of interesting, Justin, because this type of game, you know, when you think RPG, especially turn-based, you typically think of a party-based system, right? Of having different characters interacting, being able to commingle them for the majority of the campaign. But right. Octopath kind of completely forgoes that concept for one-on-one games where, for the most part, you're playing as one character, right?
Yeah, it's a Octopath. Yeah, Octopath. Yeah. Octopath was always. It's just. I think the fresh idea that the JRPG like genre kind of needed back when it originally released, you know, all those years ago. Yeah, I played the first one. I never beat it, but it's different. And it's nice that it's different. You know, it still has that classic JRPG feel, especially with how, you know, it's basically like 16-bit style SNES and looking graphics with the turn style action. And it still has that little sense of tactics to it. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking forward to this one for sure. I never beat the first one, but yeah, hopefully I'm getting seeing sense this is, you know, brand new party members, new story. You don't need to really. It's not going to be a true sequel, so you can just kind of jump into this one and just play it. Right.
Yeah, we had okay. So I'm actually really excited about this one because I love RPGs. I love rhythm games. So I think we're going to be in the same boat here. I remember when Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory came out, which is basically just it is take all the music of Kingdom Hearts, turn it into a rhythm game. It's actually really well done. So we are getting another Final Fantasy theater rhythm, I think is how it's pronounced. The final bar line. Combo. Yeah. Bruno, this is a perfect combo because this game is going to have, I think they said like 250 songs built into the original game, and then DLC is going to take it up to about 350. Okay.
I'm so impressed.
Yeah, that's a lot of music. Yes, announcer guy from DDR.
You serious?
You were sitting on that.
How many?
500 combos.
Oh my God! What?
You can't go any higher. You can't go any higher.
600 combos.
No! He did it! No way!
How could it go any higher? Is that
700 combos?
No!
You had to stop the madness. Look, the viewers can't take it, Bruno.
They can't.
We've gone too high.
We can't do it. Have.
But no, we got. Oh, you got me good there. Yeah, that's gonna be a new. Yes, hey,
my cheeks hurt.
Gonna be a really good one. It's also gonna feature a DLC from Nier, the RPG series. So a lot of great stuff there. Square Enix definitely leaning into the amazing, rich musical history of the Final Fantasy series. You can't go wrong there, Justin. But we're gonna be going right for One Winged Angel, right? That's the track.
Actually, I was really excited when I heard Melodies of Life play, which is one of the mains from Final Fantasy IX. So One Winged Angel is a great song. I might have the unpopular opinion with this, but Birth of a God, when you're fighting Bizarro Sephiroth, so much better.
Okay. I would say that is a hot take. I mean, most people wouldn't even be able to identify that track. That's but yeah, I mean, look, all your favorites are going to be there and more. So what a great one. Now, Bruno, I'm going to throw this one over to you, okay?
Ready.
Because this is kind of the big chungus for the millennials out there. They know how to keep us hooked. So, of course, we got the announcement that the Switch Online offerings, we are getting Pilot Wing 64, Mario Party 64, 1, 2, and 3, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, 1080 snowboarding, Excitebike 64, and, of course, work your body. GoldenEye 64. Oh, yes. Oh, smooth, my friend.
What it do? Are you ready?
He's ready for that.
Yeah.
It's going to be coming on the screen, and then you're going to hear him. Oh, not that, but it'll be there. Yes!
Yeah.
Woo! This is what separated the men from the boys back in the day. This is why our generation is just so enamored with first-person shooters, really. And I'm so glad we moved to the dual controller joystick thing, because as we were talking and the pre-show.
Oh,
which is that's
no
way
one hears
before
that.
anything.
We don't even hear that.
We don't even
get it.
Yeah, it's just we just type it. We're worried a little bit about how the controller might be, but I'm hoping with the GoldenEye, they've adapted it with the modern feel, because if you go back and cast your mind back to the original N64, controller, it was terribly hard to maneuver and be accurate with. I don't know how we did it. Maybe we thought we were better than we really were.
We had youth.
Yeah, we had youth on our side.
The hairlines weren't quite as receding, but man, it is. You want to talk about You want to talk about I was so excited because they announced all the games. I had been wondering, and Bruno, we were just talking about this before they announced it, of like, what's going on with GoldenEye? Because I remember earlier in the year, they're like, hey, it's a big anniversary year for 007. Be on the lookout for big game announcements.
We thought they were going to put it on pause.
And we would have been okay with that, because I mean, this is the best pause music of all time. This is like the Cisco holding music.
Gotta pull up that watch.
Here, wait for it. You're getting the whole thing. Okay, we won't go anymore. Anyway, yeah, it's very extra. But I mean, it's such an exciting moment because we knew we were going to get it. There was talk for a long time about the discontinued Xbox Live Arcade version, right? That was made maybe like a decade or so ago, and like back in the Xbox 360 days. It was ready to get released, and at the last second, somebody said no. We don't know who. We're assuming it was Nintendo. Nintendo's been holding on to this IP for a very long time, this game, because they have a final say in whether or not it can get released. And they were very clever about it, because what they did was, we also got the announcement for Xbox, but only Nintendo is going to get the online play. So now they are adding online functionality that you can get into, actual matchmaking and play. But not to be fair, on Switch, you could already do that, but it would have to be like with the split screen, because you can connect to someone else's Switch game and play as a second player. But this is going to be like actual full screen. You have your screen. There's no screen cheating. Can't screen cheat.
No screen peeking.
No screen peeking.
No screen peeking for you out there. Okay, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
we're not gonna have to put up a piece of cardboard or anything.
I used my bed sheets back in the day,
and we did. Yeah, that's right.
We did. Making sure there was a.
Yeah,
that's a good play, and I was talking with my family, who really actually does not care at all about video games. At the interesting play that was, because you're right, it was in limbo for such a long time that we thought for sure that there was some problem with how they were going to release it, and we can clearly see now that the compromise was the online multiplayer. Now, I don't think this is going to boost sales for Nintendo Switch. I really honestly don't. I think the fact that it's available on Xbox is a good pull. Now, did they mention anything about PlayStation? This coming to PlayStation, or was this just Xbox and Nintendo?
I never saw the announcement.
Okay, so if we could get to the bottom of that, if anybody in chat knows, let us know. But
there's no announcement. Nope. Xbox and Switch only.
Then I really think that it's mainly a better play for Xbox in this respect, because it's included with Game Pass. That's a huge win for them in this battle, and I don't think that people are going to go out there and buy a Switch just for the online multiplayer. I do think, however, you're going to see people like myself and Nick play it on both Xbox and Nintendo. I'm going to pick it up on Nintendo Switch because I have one, and I will more than likely download it for Xbox as well, because I prefer the Xbox controller for first-person shooters. So, I as much as, I kind of wish that it was going to be on Xbox, it's a small price to pay to get GoldenEye back in its original state, hopefully with modern controls on a next gen console, right, Justin? I mean, this is a huge get, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like this is what millennials have been waiting for since the announcement of future games in general. Like, hope they bring this back.
More of the same.
You can't beat GoldenEye. I mean, it's such an iconic game. I think one thing we need to do is when it's released and everything is, hopefully the multiplayer is not buggy when it first starts, because some games will have a little rocky start whenever they port games over. But we should get the QTB crew in like a good old free-for-all deathmatch.
Let's go.
You give me that briefcase sentry and you're done.
That's Perfect Dark.
Oh, was it?
That was not a GoldenEye thing. It's easy to conflate the two. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. Remote mines, proximity mines. That's about the closest you got to.
Egg on my face.
It's all good. I mean, Perfect Dark was literally just GoldenEye +1. They didn't have the IP rights for the game, so they just
then give me the golden gun. How's that? I'll take the golden pistol.
Wouldn't we all? As long as you don't pick Odd Job. I will give you a golden gun all day. You pick Odd Job, then I'm getting Brad back in here.
Yep.
So that's strike 3. That's it.
Okay. Thanks for having me. See you guys.
There you go. Play him off, Keyboard Cat. But just a massive announcement. Oh yeah. And that wasn't the only one.
That outro. That's a good. I like that.
It's a really good one. There's a lot of good games in here. I mean, Pilot Wing 64. That is.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have a staple library of N64 games, Pilot Wings has to be in there. 1080 snowboarding. Come on, I got very excited seeing that. There is. Amazing soundtrack. Yep. One of the greatest, I think, like that and Cool Borders were just like amazing. Amazing snowboarding, like arcade style snowboarders. That again just seem to really do well with the hardware, despite 3D being a relatively new space to work in. Can't wait to play that. Obviously,
just think about think about that though. Think about Pilot Wings coming, and think about just the lineup of Nintendo 64 games that we're talking about here, where we've got Mario Party, Super Mario 64, Mario Kart, we've got 1080 snowboarding, Pilot Wings, Wave Race 64. All of these games showcased what the Nintendo 64 could do. They were all, it seemed like they were basically like, hey, look at what we can do in this game. And I really think that a lot of these mechanics have been pushed together to create some of the games that we have today. Like it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. And these were essentially glorified tech demos back in the day that they slapped some licensing around and, pushed out some more levels and whatnot. But if you think about just where we came from in terms of like Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo before Nintendo 64, to come in and then have that 3D, like all the games have the multi-polygon. It was a huge time for us in the 90s. That's why we like lost our collective crap over every release and thought there's no way we're going to get better graphics than this, because, we had these flat pieces of art before, and now we're like in this multi-dimensional space.
Yeah.
It was a huge thing for us. So I think, a lot of us just like to relive our nostalgia for these games. Yeah. And that's a huge win for anyone that has the Nintendo Online Pass. And like we've said before, Nick, if you've got the main pass, you can share it with your friends, so there's no need that, for you to play these games alone, which can often be played online with, with a friend.
Any game. You can even just have them hop in and like you can take turns. It's very cool how Switch has set up that function. And I think it's underutilized, where you can take anyone in your friends list and be like, hey. And what's cool is like even if they're not playing, like they can use the cursor to like point at things or like do little like applause emotes and that kind of thing for you. It's if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. It's a fun time. But yeah, any game that does have multiplayer, you could do that, or just like to take turns old school, right? I got next. Next time you die, I'll take the next attempt. And there's so many games left, I think, that the Nintendo 64 portion of this package for the Switch Online is going to be doing very well. And yeah, GoldenEye is going to be part of that. I think GoldenEye is going to be the first example, though, of a Nintendo 64 game that's modified. So far, every game has been exactly as is. They've already done this with Switch, NES, and SNES games. They have the remixes, where they will give you the SP editions, they call them, where you'll get a game, but you also get the SP edition of a game where it's like, okay, you have all the power-ups, you start from a certain world based on like what sections of the game like fans really like to play. And it kind of gives you a different take on the same game. But it looks like for GoldenEye, they're actually going to be adding in a mechanic, a feature that wasn't there at all before. So a very unusual circumstance of that happening. Based on what I'm seeing, it seems to be implied that is 100% part of the Switch Online package. So you've already got that, and hey, it's coming to Game Pass as well. Plus, if you own Rare Replay, what a cool feature this was. If you own Rare Replay, they're going to give you the game. If you have the digital edition of that game, they'll go ahead and just give you a digital copy of GoldenEye 007 for free, because that was obviously the big omission from that collection, right? That's the one Rare game that people wanted in the collection. They couldn't get it. So
everyone was collectively disappointed about that. We were all hoping that was going to be in the mix, and then like we said before, it's just a matter of arguments between licensing over who gets what. But either way, this is a great step to finally get this game out in the wild and see some great clips. I mean, we're going to be seeing some great stuff from streamers when this game comes out. I can only imagine that some of the big guns out there are going to switch on over to the Switch. Whoa, where's it at? There it is, because I play the buttons.
That's right. You're the guy with the buttons. There it is. There it is. Oh, guys, we got a lot more to get to here just on the Switch side of things. We did get an announcement that we're getting an update for Mario Strikers, a few more characters in there. Nintendo Switch Sports is getting the golf update. It's going to be happening later this year, holiday 2022. They're going to be having the classic golf gameplay, also a battle royale style golf game, where like they had the bowling battle royale, where like every frame the lowest score is eliminated. Now it's going to be the same thing, where it's like 8 people playing the same hole at the same time, and then at the end the lowest or the highest strokes will get eliminated. So again, Nintendo very smartly leaning into the battle royale craze with that lineup, and a very much a needed game. They really need more games to pad out the Switch Sports library, and hopefully we get more very soon.
It works great. I love it. I love having it's one of the games that I picked up like on launch was Switch Sports Online, and I love everything that they've added. But you're right, there is a catalog of things that I wish were also in the mix, especially being what we would consider a Nintendo next gen console, right? Like, you know, over the Wii, this is 2 consoles later, so we should be at that point where we're getting more from a game, and that's the beauty of Nintendo, right? These constant updates that we're getting like this, where they come in with Nintendo Direct. They basically say, hey, this stuff's coming out, and this stuff's coming out in 2023, and it's soon. Right? Like, it's not, next year, like here's a roadmap of stuff that we're actually going to release. That's going to be fun. Unlike some of the stuff that we have to see on PlayStation, where we're like, what the heck was that? Did you see that?
What's that? What's that? What'd they do there? Is that a controller? No, we'll get there. So, okay, let's just keep moving here down the list. So we did get an announcement for a game that ends in the number 4. But unfortunately for Justin and Metroid fans everywhere, it doesn't begin with Metroid Prime. Instead, it is Pikmin 4. So you were saying before, Justin, you felt a little trolled by that announcement, right?
I did, yeah. Especially with the N64 package. Before they announced GoldenEye as the big thing they were revealing for the N64 package, the screen went blank, or dark or whatever, faded out. And then the top left corner, I noticed, the little Samus icon up there. And I was like, wait a minute.
Hold on.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
You guys said this like 8,000 years ago, and you haven't said a thing since. And then they showed GoldenEye, which was cool. Don't get me wrong. But then it's like,
Yeah.
you guys suck.
You got trolled. You got trolled. But no, the game was Pikmin 4, and this is a franchise. It's hard to believe it's been around for about 20 years now. The original on the OG GameCube, and the Pikmin 4 has been in production for quite a while. We finally got the game, and we got a very brief cinematic. It's far from anywhere close to being released, but we did know that it will be confirmed for 2023. Miyamoto actually stepped in for that. They're trying to push Pikmin Bloom, which is their AR game that they made with Niantic. And Niantic is on a streak of like take every IP known to man and make like a Pokemon Go clone of it because that's all they know.
Tiger Electronics did that back in the 90s.
Yes, they did. That's a great wow.
I still have my Street Fighter Tiger Electronics.
That is the most. That is a burn, even if you didn't mean for it to be. I love it. Yeah,
monochromatic.
Where they just collapsed in on themselves. Yeah. But yeah, it's very much a popular franchise, and it kind of is in the same vein of Metroid as being. It's one of those IPs for Nintendo that usually comes late in the life cycle of a console, and typically, even if it's a critically successful game, it won't sell as much as your Mario's and your Pokemon. Everybody expects that. But nonetheless, a very valuable game and one that people do enjoy. So we do know that the number 4 in that will be on the way. I already mentioned we got the Harvestella demo coming out, another farming simulator / combat type game. We did get so we got an announcement for Resident Evil Village. The Cloud Edition is going to come on Nintendo Switch. And when you see Cloud Edition on the Switch, and if you're excited about that, why? Like the Switch is not designed. We talked about this before. They're doing this now where they're like, well, the Switch can't handle the games, right? Like when Sora came out for Smash, and they're like, oh, great, we're going to get Kingdom Hearts games on the Switch. They're like, sorta? You're going to get 1, 2, and 3 all cloud editions, even though the Switch can totally run 1 and 2. It's a cop-out. It's not good. And you're going to have a bad time. Yeah. So don't buy it.
I haven't heard that in forever.
Yeah. Don't buy it. Oh, guys, big one. Kirby's Return to Dreamland. And I was just saying, somebody asked me when I was playing Kirby's Dream Buffet on TikTok, they're like, do you think there's going to be a Kirby game at this Direct? I'm like, honestly, no. Kirby fans have been eating good lately. Like, there's been lots of great games. No pun intended. But nonetheless, we did get one. And this game is a remake of the Nintendo Wii, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. We're getting a kind of a full-blown deluxe version of the game with more content, more powers. I can't wait to hang out with my Poyo pal, because me and Kirby, we are inexplicably linked for life. Oh yeah, Poyos all around.
Really are.
Yeah.
That's if anybody knows.
Kirby balls at your local.
That's why you're here.
You can't buy That's the only reason I'm here. I'm that guy.
Still get thrown out April 10th. Check the dumpster in the back.
We're still going after all this time.
He will give you a sweet deal.
And this will be a sweet deal. I can't wait to play it. But yeah, as far as the other announcements, that's pretty much it. We didn't hit every single thing. We did get that Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is going to hit Switch on December 13th. I played the original. I liked it. I didn't love the way the combat worked. Are you excited at all for that, Justin?
If I'm not mistaken, I think they said they were changing the combat.
Okay.
So because the whole roulette system.
Right.
That's one of the main attractions about that game, though, is the combat system. I mean, it was insanely different.
Very. Yeah.
So there's a lot of uproar about it. I feel like from people who really loved Crisis Core, if they do go on and kind of like what they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake and just kind of just switch up the whole turn-based altogether, but. Mm-hmm. The one thing I'm actually really excited for, if you don't mind me just jumping ahead, was the Tales of Symphonia.
Yeah.
That is Symphonia, or Tales games are great. Symphonia is one of the my list anyway is one of the best ones that they made. Seeing that being treated and getting a nice remastering and getting an upgrade is, if you guys have never played any of the Tales games and you're interested in JRPGs and turn-based style games, play this when it comes out. It is a great game. I'm really excited for that.
A lot of classic JRPGs are getting their moments with remakes and just ports. So it's a great time to be an RPG fan. But on that note, Bruno, anything else that stood out to you? That the whole shebang?
No, I mean that's I'm excited for everything that Nintendo presented there. We got a little bit of sneak peek of what's coming up with the Zelda series. We got a classic for us. We're just ready for Nintendo going strong. Mm-hmm. And I read an analyst post I think it was a week or so ago that basically said that Nintendo is still just killing it in sales, and that this winter for the holiday season you're likely going to be running into some problems trying to get a console. So if you are in the market for grabbing one, like I said last year, it's going to be another year where it's going to be hard to grab one of these consoles for Christmas. So if you haven't picked one up, you can pretty much go just about anywhere now and grab an actual Switch, not the OLED edition. And you don't even need the OLED edition really, unless you're mobile oriented. But if you're mainly going to be playing on the TV, it's not gonna make a difference for you. But so many great games coming up there to expand this catalog. I feel like the Switch is just hitting its stride with game releases and being able to cater to the nostalgia crowd with the Nintendo Switch Online offering. Yeah. So just really exciting. Now I before we move on, I can't say the same for PlayStation.
We'll get there.
Before we get there, Nick,
we'll hit you with a palate cleanser first in advance, and that's going to be
give you a little boom shakalaka.
A boom shakalaka.
Gonna come in, okay.
I'm going to give him a little boom shakalaka before we get into that, Bruno, because of course, as always, we want to say thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. I'm talking about our QTV and Fuego supporters, Epic Capture Productions, Matt.Bat, and Alexa, and our QTV Plus supporters, Nick, The Dudist Bunk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, Mr. Grove Games, The Intergalactic Pinecone, Fluffy Bunny, and Kawaii Potato. If you would like a shout-out on each and every episode of the QTV podcast, tiers start as low as $2 a month. That $5 tier is going to give you access to the shout-outs, exclusive merch at the $5 tier and up, and also you get, at every tier, early access to our audio podcast with the pre-show, the post-show, sometimes the pre-show, depending on when I remember to push the button. It's very confusing, but we work it all out in post or in pre-post, or I don't know. Anyway, you also get access to the QTV Nostalgia Vault. Tons of bonus content. You get it all with that one month subscription. You get the whole back catalog of all of our content on your own private RSS audio feed. Check it out today at patreon.com/quitthebuild. Nice. We got the timing of that. We got it down, man. Even when we don't want to. I mean, that's how you know we've been doing this for too long.
It's there.
That's why you got the professionals.
It's there, and we're here.
That's the theme for this show. Okay,
yeah, we're here.
We're here.
Get used to it. Yeah,
get used to it. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay. So next story. Yes, let's just keep it moving. So like I said before, mobilesyrup.com providing us with a great breakdown of everything that we saw during the PlayStation September State of Play. And that's the sounds you know and love.
That's the sound you know and love, but we're about to break down some sounds you're not going to love. Okay, you're not going to love the sounds that are coming out of it. Unless you're a weeb. Okay, Justin, you probably loved this stuff. Actually, you loved it.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, look, there are some things in there that there were. I don't want to say the whole presentation was underwhelming, but definitely the consensus was, especially in Sony's own live stream chat I was watching. Everyone was like, "Yeah, Nintendo did better. Yeah, you should have punted on this one." But nonetheless, there were some announcements in there. Just not a whole lot that we didn't already know about.
There were some announcements. They said some things.
They said some things. And that's what you want to do during a live stream. You know?
It's true. It's true.
Do you think they just kind of smash this together? Because then they just announced like a day or two ago. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're doing this, guys. Like,
it almost. So you gotta wonder. I'm a fan of F1, and you gotta wonder. In F1, there's what we call the top. The top field, the best of the best, where the top three teams are facing. And you got midfield cars where it's like, people that are kind of good. I'm wondering if Sony is switching their tactic to competing with Xbox to competing with Nintendo. maybe they've actually said, you know what? I don't think we could get to whatever it is they're doing. So let's come in at the Nintendo crowd, because what I saw was a lot of, I would say, just very Nintendo oriented games, things that I would expect to see on their lineup. And then we've got just a mishmash of it looked like a casserole of the same games, but just mixed up. It was like, what's going on this PlayStation casserole here?
It's the Sony state of casserole. Yes. Here we go. Let's just jump right in. Well, the top layer of this casserole was a game that people have been expecting, and that is an announcement for Tekken 8. We got a quick...
that was cool.
It looks great. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, Tekken is a franchise that you can't go wrong with that style of fighter. Exactly. Those are the real sound effects from the trailer. The actual teaser there looked amazing. But like any fighting game, the proof is in the pudding with the actual mechanics, the tech, the way the game plays out. We were very critical of Street Fighter V, of them showing so much footage of things that weren't actual fighting, which is what the people want to know about. But and I got to say, Street Fighter, the new Street Fighter 6, I'm sorry. Which is it 5 or 6? I can't even keep track of numbers anymore.
6?
Sure. It's the new one.
Sure.
The new one. Yeah. It is, they're bringing it as far as like what they're actually going to be having. Yeah, Street Fighter 6. With the gameplay, the announcer style thing, where it's going to feel like you're actually at an Evo event, when you're playing. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I mean, look, Tekken 8's got its work cut out for it, but I mean, it's Tekken. It's Tekken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tekken.
That's what they said.
Tekken was my jam back in the day, man.
I
was all about Tekken Tag.
I mean, you're right. It's a huge name. There were 3 camps that you were likely in. You were either in the Tekken, the Mortal Kombat, or the Street Fighter camp. I myself was an outlier over in Sega, looking at Virtual Fighter.
Yeah.
I'm big into Virtual Fighter, baby. That's what I want to see. All of it.
Best soundtrack.
Loved it. It felt more approachable to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like Tekken is kind of that way. Street Fighter's got a huge learning curve, and so does Mortal Kombat nowadays. But with such a huge gap, in the amount of time between Tekken games, I think that this is something that, like you said, Nick, if we get more actual gameplay, which I think it was a mix. I think there was a mix of like they would cut to some real gameplay. And then they would cut to some cinematic things or whatever. Either that or they just had hella superpowers in there and they were just going to town. Like, I don't know. So
got those combo bars.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bruno knows all about combos. The last I heard, we were on a 700 combo. 600 combos. Too much. Too high.
We do. What about
800 combos?
No, we can't keep going.
No,
it's still going.
No, 900 combos.
Who's dancing right now?
Yes, it's you, Justin.
Can I call you a dancing master?
Oh man,
maybe.
He can't go all the way. He can't go all the way, right? There's no way.
1,000 combos.
Unbelievable.
Perfect combo.
That is a perfect combo
right there.
Wow. Okay, awesome. Well, I may have just woken up the whole house, but that's okay. I'll get a text message later. I mean, Tekken is definitely a staple game. What more can be said about it? But it's a good thing to lead with, I think. But no release date. And that's one of the big differences between Nintendo and any other showcases. Like Nintendo's like, look, here's what's coming out this winter, or at least near it. We're going to give you a release date on almost everything. Of course,
within a year.
Oh, guys, we didn't even mention, Breath of the Wild sequel. But here's what I'll say.
I did, but you kind of glazed over. I was excited about that. I just got deadpan stares. Like, crickets over here. I'm like, okay, well.
There's actually a good reason for that, and I will touch back on this real quick. Is that the problem is?
All I got.
It's nothing new. Like we got like a very brief snippets of gameplay. We got the title right, Tears of the Kingdom.
You have castles in the sky. Like,
It's a great track. Bringing it full circle with
That is a great
DDR.
song. Yeah, it is.
Castle in the Sky. You know, aside from the title, the logo, and a little bit more gameplay, didn't see much. Honestly, it's and the same thing happened with Sony with God of War, right? They ended with Ragnarok with their heavy hitter, and it's like I'm just not seeing anything more that I need to see. It's just for show, and it's a showcase. I understand. But it really doesn't get me excited anymore because it seems like every time we see a new bit of God of War or a new bit of Zelda, it's barely enough to get people excited. So that's what I'll say about that. I am ready for the game, but man, it's been a long time coming. Anyway, all right, next up. So we had 2 games announced for PSVR 2. We have Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition and DeMeo. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Both of which exist already on other platforms. I've played DeMeo myself on the Oculus Quest, and I mean it's really nothing to get excited about. I didn't see anybody getting hyped about PSVR 2. I'm honestly concerned about that being the last hurrah for like console VR. Because I'm just saying what I'm seeing.
I called it. I called it
like,
years
what's
ago.
the lineup? Like,
Right.
I called it
Not
years
much.
ago when we were talking about PlayStation VR, and I right before it announced, I said it's not a path to actual gaming so much as it is these experiences that you get. And honestly, those experiences are something, you know, I expect from an arcade. I walk into an arcade, I want that type of experience. It's not something I really, you know, want to jam on at home, or, you know, I'm looking for every single VR game that's out there. There's still work to be done on that front.
Yeah.
So anytime I see these announcements for more like VR games for PlayStation, it just feels like they're trying to hold on to something that's not really going to work. They're going to be releasing PSVR 2, you know, when there wasn't enough content for PSVR 1 to warrant another upgrade for this. It just goes down the same road of how PlayStation continually nickel and dimes their customers and their fan base by giving them, quote, a new experience that is, you know, just a new peripheral. The same thing. Same thing. You know, it's not that exciting. It's not groundbreaking. I'm not saying it's not fun, right? But there are games that you play with your family when you have them over for Christmas, and there are games that you play on a regular basis, and VR games really aren't that regular basis game. Like, they don't have the content there to really warrant an extended gameplay, and you could argue that maybe medically that's probably for the better, but that's not how gamers play. We know that gamers play for a long time, so anytime I see something like the PSVR, and what if you wear glasses, right? Like, there's so many limitations behind it. It's to me, it's kind of just a gimmick.
I'm telling you, man. I was waiting for Gabe Newell just to plug it into my spinal cord and just knock me out.
That's the future.
Ghost in the Shell.
Matrix style. Right?
We're on our way, no doubt. But so that's all the time I think we'll really spend on the VR portion. But I mean, it is part of their PS5 lineup and part of their strategy. So it is what it is.
You're going to see more.
We will see
you like
more.
it or not. Yep.
There will be other announcements and games. Oh my gosh. All right. So we've got Like a Dragon Ishin for the PS4 and PS5 releasing February 2023. You know, it's when I see these types of games, I have a hard time like discerning it from being just another Sekiro Shadows Die Twice or any kind of game along that vein where it's like, or Ghost of Tsushima.
Where's my Tenchu remake?
Right, and a lot of people said that when they saw this, of like, oh, you know, it's a new Tenchu. Which, I mean, look, there's an IP that would get people excited if you made just dropped an announcement like that out of the blue. But instead, we got this game based in 1860s Kyo, a samurai's fight for justice.
With guns, albeit, which is really
a lot
weird.
of these games had like samurais with guns.
It was. I know that
thing.
they existed at the same time period. I'm not oblivious to history here, but it's still weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's still kind of like, here you go into battle, very honorable, with a sword, and then he pulls out a gun like, nope, sorry, honors for the weak. Like,
Give him the old 6-shooter. Yeah, there you go.
Like, pap, like, well, okay. Like, you're dead.
Yeah.
So that was really weird to see, I will say, because it's something you're not expecting when you look at a samurai game. But like I said, they kind of blended in together, because the next one that we're going to talk about is similar to that too, except it's just not in the past, it's in the present.
Yes. Hogwarts Legacy, the classic samurai simulation game with guns and swords. I mean, it's essentially the same thing. No,
Shogun.
I'm just going in order here. I know what you're talking about. We'll get to it. But Hogwarts Legacy, not a whole lot new there. We got a lot of new information from a separate presentation. So, looking forward to it, February of 2023. Pacific Drive. This game did have a nice kind of ambiance to it. I like this vibe of like you're in like a station wagon and you're just driving to survive with the rain and
with the
all
Griswolds.
It's like
Griswold's
Vacation, like if it were a horror movie. Yeah, exactly. I would love to see more about that. That's a PS5 only game coming out in 2023. We had the PlayStation. Okay. The PlayStation Stars loyalty program. So we finally look, and this is the thing. We've been talking so much about how
good try, Sony.
How Sony tries.
At least you tried.
They try to say that they're not like emulating what everyone else is doing, and yet all they do anymore with like new systems and new business models, right, is just emulate things that have already been done 5+ years ago by other companies and
that weren't that successful to begin with.
Correct. And so they have come out with the PlayStation Stars program, which is their answer to Microsoft Rewards and also the My Nintendo Points system. And so essentially what this does is it's this kind of a similar thing where you can complete missions, objectives. You can do kind of daily, monthly little quests, right, to get their currency, their PlayStation Stars currency in order to redeem for loyalty points, and at which point you can then use them either directly for funding for your PSN wallet, or you can get these little... Well, they're not necessarily saying you redeem your points for them, but they really spend a lot of time talking about this digital collectible system. They did confirm they're not NFTs, but they're basically just like representations of like famous PlayStation games and icons and consoles.
It's similar to like Kirby's Forgotten Land, where you go in there and you can put the stars or whatever into the little I don't know, the little egg machines. Pops out a little egg.
Right.
A little egg toy.
This guy with the sound effects.
Yeah, it's just it seemed very like that's what they really focused on.
Yeah.
Was that like, oh yeah, these collectibles. And I really think that they underestimate how much we care about cosmetics when we can't use them in a game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't just have my PS5 or my Xbox Series X just on all the time, in the trophy room, checking it out. Like, that's my screensaver, guys. See that trophy room right there? Yeah, it's awesome. Like, no, that's stupid. So, like, I don't know who it's for. Like, it just seems like a cheap way to kind of tack it on and say, hey, we've got something that kind of is like that too. And that's the big thing with PlayStation right now. They, it's like going into a dollar store and looking for a Captain America doll and instead getting Mr. USA. And you're like, oh, thank God they've got General USA. Right. It's just as good as Captain America. Like,
Metal Man. Yeah. Exactly.
Instead of Iron Man.
It really makes me think that they're trying to do what Xbox does with their avatars, like when you make your 3D model of yourself, and then you can, use points or real money to buy accessories like little hats or cell phones or different animations for them. And I feels like that's what they're trying to accomplish with this in a sense, but
Yeah, it fell flat. It fell flat. I didn't see a single person that was like, yeah, because like you also know that like the conversion rate is going to be awful. I was just talking with Bruno the other day about how much value I've gotten out of the Microsoft Rewards program. I do the daily searches on Bing. There's like little like it takes about 5 minutes. Yeah. It's incredible. It takes about 5 minutes of my day. Each day, I'll just do it on break at work or something and get my daily points, come home. I don't do the Game Pass quests because those are a little more involved. But I have made this year so far, I think I'm 9 months into doing it every day. And without making any extra purchases that I wouldn't have made otherwise, I've gotten about $200 in rewards. And that's quite literal. Like, it's Microsoft account balance money that I've used for. I use it oftentimes if I want to get some Fortnite, some V-Bucks or something. I'll just, pop $10 here or there. And it's great. I mean, they're begging you to use Bing. I'll tell you what. You get rewarded quite heavily for doing it.
Take our money.
Yeah. And I always tell people, like, if you're not doing it and you're on Xbox, like, you're missing out because Game Pass will pay for itself easily just by doing the bare minimum. But in any case, that's their answer. I don't think it really deserves any more discussion than beyond what we just said.
If you call that an answer.
It's weak, and I think even Sony fans are calling them out. It's just a matter of how much value are you really getting for your time. That's the big question with any kind of rewards program: is are you gonna hide behind you can get $10 for 100 PlayStation stars, and it's like, oh well, you get like maybe one per week if you do. Oh, hey, you got a platinum trophy here. Have a Shrute buck,
What's the value of a Shrute buck?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's about as much as a Stanley nickel.
It's a bad conversion rate for Stanley nickels. You don't want to know.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's the same to unicorns to leprechauns, and that's
our second Office reference this stream so far. Go us. Okay. So the next thing is Sin Duality. And this game is looking fresh. And I'm going to tell you what, when I, maybe you'll remember this one, Justin. When I saw this trailer, I saw the mechs at first, and I was wondering what it was going to be. And then I saw, at one point, they refer to one of the enemies as an Ender. You know what I thought?
Oh, yeah, I was right there with you.
You thought the same thing. I'm like, wait, is this one of the Enders? And this is what I'm saying about Sony, man. So many people are saying, like, what happened to, like, Sly Cooper? What happened to all these classic PlayStation IPs that have been sitting dormant? Why aren't you dropping announcements to get people hyped? And I mean, this game does look good. Don't get me wrong, but when I heard that, I'm like, wait, did I miss something?
I really thought it was Zone of the Enders for a moment. Like I was. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that game. It's a travesty that it just kind of got tabled, but it is what it is.
Such a good game.
Yeah. Especially now with Kojima kind of floating around with games that may or may not happen. Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing him hop in since Konami had a hand in that. But anyway, but I guess it's more of a break at this point. Anyway, I'm rambling. Sin Duality, looking pretty good. It's a brand new sci-fi third-person shooter from Bandai Namco. A couple Bandai Namco announcements in this event where you journey alongside your AI and mecha to survive a dystopian futuristic adventure. And, it's kind of like what Bruno had said, right, where it's you've seen one, you've seen them all for this type of gameplay, right? It's super stylized. It looks good graphically. Kind of got that Eastern art style flair to it. Great. You can tell it's going to be a good soundtrack. I don't doubt that it's going to be a quality title. It's just like any other game, we need to see a whole lot more as to what is going to make it stand out among all the other action type games that go alongside it. Were there any games like this, Bruno, that kind of on the sci-fi side that stood out to you?
They kind of blended, like I said, it kind of became this casserole of Eastern games, like it really did, and it just kind of blended in together. And as I was watching it during the day, and listening to everything, there just came to these points where I couldn't understand anything they were saying because it was all in Japanese or Korean or whatever it may be, and I'm sitting there focusing in on it, and then I turn my head for a bit, and it keeps going, and then I turn back. And it looked exactly the same, but it was a different game. So I think that's a problem when you have these games that try and deliver something that looks almost as if they could all be a part of the same universe, although albeit slightly different. And there wasn't anything there that, although it seemed cool, it wasn't anything that I'm going to rush out and buy a PlayStation 5 for.
Right.
And I think that's what PlayStation is looking for at this point. They're looking for, even though they say they have the numbers and that they've got they're not worried about it and all that kind of thing. I think that's a lie, because obviously you wouldn't come out and say, we're going to make more PlayStation 4s. We're going to, kind of move on to the next PlayStation 5. I think that scalpers really did a number on the ecosystem and life cycle of PlayStation 5, along with a lot of the other stuff that went on as well, through the pandemic, and then the, giant freighter getting stuck in the middle of the Suez Canal was kind of put a kibosh some things. But, if you think about that, right, where we've got this, company that is trying to compete with Xbox, they come out with all these games. Who are they targeting really? It's and we can see that I think that PlayStation is less interested in the US market at this time, and they're more interested in their Eastern market, especially with news like Xbox, actually outselling PlayStation for the first time in Japan. Right. And having a group of gamers from a different region that are actually interested in the other console for once. And I think that is really where Sony is starting to see the problem. And I think that it's going to divide the gamers. That's why they led with something like Tekken and then followed it up with, of course, everything we were always expecting, God of War Ragnarok, which, again, like I said, the same thing with, what was it? Horizon Dawn. Right. You see these games and the life cycle that these are coming out so quickly, you wonder how much more are we going to get? How much better is it really? Is the combat at its peak? Is the storytelling at its peak? Or is there more to say? Or are we just churning out content? Churning out content for, to gain a buck? Or is it something really groundbreaking? So, to like I said before, I think this is something that PlayStation is looking for, that Grand Theft Auto. They want people to literally drop $500 for one game. And it hasn't happened in a long time. And I don't think it's going to happen unless you've got the IP powerhouse that Nintendo has. Yeah. Where you've got, an exclusive hold on IPs that no one else is going to be able to get to. Therefore, you can, come out with another game and another game. How many Uncharted games and God of War Ragnaroks, and I'll even go over to the Xbox side, because we're seeing it with Halo Infinite. How many Halos are going to come out before we start to beat a dead horse? So, I'm sure that a lot of people are excited about this, especially considering the PlayStation library has been very slim. In comparison to what the other consoles have had out. So, for me, nothing groundbreaking that I'm really going to go out there and say, hey, I need this, or, need to wait. I think that they're kind of shooting in the dark here, and they're it just seems like we don't really know what we're doing, but here's some games. Here's some games.
I will say, stuff and that was a pretty good summation of God of War, I think. I won't really dive too much more into that. We didn't see a whole lot more. I mean, I think the game does have Game of the Year potential for being that narrative-driven experience. I think there are very high expectations, and I think they're going to meet them. So we'll see. I will say that controller announcement before the game was such a troll. Because people thought just one more thing, and then it was the controller, and it's like, if you end this on a controller, just don't come back. Yeah. But they did. They came back with more gameplay footage and some cinematic footage of the new God of War game. Game looks good. We'll see what happens. It's a good point you make, Bruno, about Sony looking for that PS5 exclusive live service title, and I think they thought they had it with Babylon's Fall. Yeah. Which was supposed to be their big Square Enix game. It had a abysmal launch, and the news just broke today. Not a whole lot of people talking about it right now, that game is getting quietly shuttered. The online service is getting terminated. Oh, yeah. So the game's been out for less than a year. It sold that poorly. So yeah, I think they are looking for that style, but they can't find it in a way that marries what the Eastern game market expects out of a game, which is kind of that Elden Ring, that all-in-one style game that doesn't rely too much on microtransactions and on live service, right? They're stuck somewhere in the void of the Western business model of gaming right now and the Eastern, which are still very much succinctly different. That's a really good take, I think. Beyond that, I will throw one thing in there. I think Stellar Blade looks really good. It's like Bayonetta with melee weapons.
It kind of reminds me of a faster pace mix of Bayonetta with Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Like,
I got that.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. It looks stylish as heck, and if I had a PS5, that would probably be the one game in this lineup that I would bookmark to potentially get as a day one purchase. But yeah, aside from that, guys, that's pretty much the whole thing. We did get Rise of the Ronin again, once again a samurai with guns style game.
I wanted to actually touch base on Rise of the Ronin.
Okay.
Can we stop announcing games that are not going to be out for another 2 years?
Thank you.
Like,
yeah.
I could care less about that game. Like, it's absurd. Like, oh, hey guys, here's this really cool game.
Right.
You got like 2-3 years left before you even see it or play it.
That is a PlayStation oldie, but that's like their big trick. Their big ta-da is to do that. Gotcha. Like that's how they do it. And
I feel like it really hurts them in the long run.
It does.
I mean, look at Kingdom Hearts 3, or like
look at Last of the Guardians. Wasn't that the one that was that went through essentially like 3 generation cycles of gameplay or development? It's ridiculous, and I think that's where my big problem with Sony is that. Especially back in the E3 days, there were all the Sony fanboys that would come out and say, look at the lineup, ha ha ha, like, Xbox is over, game over, Xbox. And we still haven't seen some of those titles that they announced at E3 before the pandemic.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. And that is the state of play of PlayStation. You're going to get those long shots of, hey, this is what we plan to do way down in the future. Congrats. But I'm like you, Justin. I don't care unless you're going to show me something that is almost in hand. Right. And I think that's where Nintendo and I think that Xbox is also getting the hint with that as they release things and basically say, hey, this is coming out soon. This is going to be here within the next year. They started their entire, presentation off that way. Everything you see here will be out within a year. Nintendo doesn't have to do that because they already do that. So the only person left is PlayStation, and you're right, Nick. I think you said it right. They're stuck in between wanting to be like Nintendo and wanting to be like Xbox. Mm-hmm. And they're getting stretched so far right now, like Stretch Armstrong. It's only a matter of time before that corn syrup bursts out of the chest and goes all over the concrete. And then you got $60 doll worth nothing.
Like it's scraped over too much spread.
Yeah. I think an identity crisis is the right way to peg it. Like that. I hadn't really thought about that before until you kind of phrased it that way of like, man. And I think of like that whole controversy where now like Xbox and PlayStation, while they initially were singing Kumbaya about the Activision Blizzard merger, now like it's getting nasty with the comments between Phil Spencer and Jim Ryan about how, oh, you're not doing right by PlayStation with Call of Duty. And it's like, of course they're not. They're buying the studio. Like you're lucky they're honoring the contract at all.
And we'll leave it here for our listeners here to take this nugget with you. But I would say if you're concerned about Xbox having sole control over the Call of Duty series, I think that's a silly thing to lose sleep over for 2 reasons. One, they know that Call of Duty is going to make tons of money. So they don't why would they keep that to their own console? 2, with something like the Game Pass, they can make every Activision game be free on Xbox, which is going to have way more value than simply having it as a console exclusive. Because now you go down the line of, well, if you have it on Xbox, you get to play it early, you get to play it free with Game Pass. It's included. And that is way more enticing than anything that PlayStation can do. And they know it. They know that that's where it is. They're not afraid that Xbox isn't going to share Call of Duty. They're afraid that Xbox is going to put Call of Duty on Xbox Game Pass for free. And that is going to be the definitive nail in the coffin for people who have both consoles. They're not going to buy it on one when they can play it on the other, unless there is, like we said for GoldenEye, a split in features, which is not going to happen. So I think, for Sony fans out there, I think it's a little brazen and audacious of anyone to say that this merger is bad for PlayStation, considering PlayStation has had a history of making things console exclusive and taking third-party development away from things like Nintendo and Xbox. So the fact that it's coming full circle is just karma. Is all it is karma. And Xbox is doing it better than PlayStation. Sorry.
It all started going downhill once Konami X'd Kojima. Oh man.
I was strings. So now he's got a podcast, and we're gonna hear about it, Justin. I'll tell you.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
Now we're gonna hear about it.
Now, great analysis, man. To talk about full circle, we got through two major presentations here. In a pretty short span of time. Glad we were able to make that.
He's doing a really good Brad
impersonation. I gotta tell you, it's good day for a swell battle. And we have just been amazing. I don't know if we're gonna get Nick back on this, but for some reason he is just dead-eyed stared at the bottom right portion of the screen, and he is gone from all existence. If you are out there listening, be sure to check out our website, quitthebuild.com. We've got awesome content there. We got a new article from Justin, right? There's a brand new blog article.
Yes, sir. About the Resident Evil Netflix series.
Oh, and it was so quick take on that. Were you happy for it, or were you left wanting more?
Don't watch it.
Oh, there you go. Straight to the point. Oof. Don't watch it. That's becoming the trend with these movie or these like TV shows, right? Like the Halo got kind of banned.
If they just take these concepts that they have and run with it and give it a name and don't slap some famous IP on it, it could stand a chance. Yeah, like that's a big issue.
I agree. You're right, and that's a huge discussion for another time, but it basically lends the fact that, and they've done it with video games in the past. A lot of these things end up coming to, where they come across somebody's desk and they say, this sounds great, but it'd be better if we attach this big IP to it. And you're right. I think a lot of these things can stand on their own, which is, a testament to the writing of it, the writing and development. You don't need to slap a fancy sticker on there to sell it. But in Hollywood's mind, that's often the way it is. Right. Even in the video game industry with things like microtransactions. Hey, he's back!
I did it.
He's back.
The internet
combo.
Come on, man. I was gonna say a whole thing. Oh well.
Okay. But we're glad to have you back. And like I said, we are just wrapping up our conversation here where, I think that if you want to see some good articles, go to quitthebuild.com where you can hear Justin's or listen or watch reading. Goodness gracious, we'll get there.
Yeah,
it's late.
Read Justin's take on the new Netflix series with Resident Evil, and you have some other articles on there, some reviews of different games, and we've just got a bunch of content coming up on the website. So like I said, quitthebuild.com. You can go over there, Check out our merch section where we've got some sexy, sweet swag. That's squad swag for all you people out there. And check out our community page where you can follow us all around the internet, the interwebs, the socials, the places, every place we are, it's listed right there. And of course, you can join our Discord and hang out with Discord Lord Terry. Nick!
That's it. Man. It. Well, I'll tell you, it's video games. How about them? Lots of stuff, lots of great stuff. You already plugged Justin's article. That's great. Guys, listen, the live streams, we got so much going on. Check it out. Join us during the week, typically like Thursday through Sunday. We've got someone streaming, usually nightly. We've got live streams now. We're going to be doing on both TikTok and on YouTube, Twitch, you name it. Wherever you might be, we've got video gameplay for you. And of course, that family-friendly and positive QTB community you know and love. So make sure to join the fun. And that's what I got for him, Bruno.
Oh, well, I'm just going to have to go ahead and take us out. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Quit the Build podcast. For Nick and Justin, I'm Bruno.
For Bruno and Justin, I'm Nick. Can he do it?
For Nick and Bruno, I'm Justin.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to check us out on quitthebuild.com. Oh, what it do?
Quit the Build.